So I want to talk about loneliness real quick with you guys because I think it's extremely important. I think a lot of people these days, because of social media and all, I definitely blame that. I know it's the cliche adult thing to do, but seriously, I think it has a big part of it. I think all of that has to do with loneliness, but it's other things too. And you guys got to understand really the real problem with loneliness. So first things first, when you were a child, did you feel lonely? Maybe, there's some secure attached or whatever it's called, some people that are insecurely attached to their parents and things like that and go through that. But as a child, you kind of learn to just entertain yourself, really, right? You learn to play with toys, you learn to do this, you learn to do that, and so you don't really care about being alone. But something weird happens when we get older is that we care about being alone. Like, we can't be alone, we feel lonely, we feel all these things. But why is that the case, actually? Well, to be honest, there's not much difference between us as children and us as we grow up. Like, I know what you're thinking. Yes, there is. There's tons of differences. Mental states, all of that. Well, yes, like intelligence, perhaps, to some degree. But ultimately, the only thing that changes is your life circumstances, like the things that have happened to you in the past. That's the only thing that's really changing. And so when you're a child, you don't have all that baggage behind you. So you can be alone because there's nothing bad going on inside your head. Like, there's no insecurities, there's no worries, there's no like, oh my gosh, like, there's none of these like bashing thoughts for the most part in most kids' head where they're saying they're worthless and all of this, because those thoughts exist in your head because someone else put them there. And that's what I want you to remember and truly understand if you haven't understood it already. The thoughts in your head are not your thoughts. A lot of us, right, we can carry around baggage for years and think that it's ourselves that are telling us that thing. We think it's ourselves that have been telling us these bad things and these bad thoughts over time, but it's really not. At the end of the day, it's other people putting these thoughts into our head. Like, seriously, like, get that down, right? So, like, for example, your parent may be like, oh, you're worthless. Or I know one big thing is that parents will say, right, like, you're not doing anything, you need to get out of the house, you need to do this, you need to make yourself productive. And that's actually like will impose trauma onto a kid, a certain type of trauma, right? Because it makes the kid think they always have to be moving, always have to be productive. It's very toxic. Unfortunately, it is the 9 to 5 principle, though, and that's really where they have gotten it from, is because the 9 to 5 job has trained and conditioned them to always be productive, because you don't work based on efficiency, you work by the hour, which is complete stupidity, but that's another rant for another day. Anyways, yeah, to not feel lonely, you got to understand that you've built these traumas, these blockages, this baggage over time, and the thoughts aren't even yours, they're other people's that have been telling you these things. So that's the first thing. It's not you, it's just collective thoughts that you have collected from other people, your parents, whatever it is. And so this baggage can make it hard for people to sit alone with their thoughts. That's really what it comes down to. Because when you're a kid, again, you didn't have this baggage, and you could entertain yourself all day. You had fun. You weren't easily bored. And we get easily bored when we grow up because we build assumptions about things. We build assumptions about objects, toys, environments, etc. When we're a kid, we don't even know how things work yet. We don't want to build assumptions, and we just have more of imagination. So literally a pool, like if you have a pool like I do, right here, okay? If you have a pool, that thing is not a pool when you're a child. Like for me, that thing was like a Quidditch field, if you know Harry Potter. That thing was like every sport that you could imagine, every sport field, Millennium Falcon, like it was space, time, like it was all of these things through imagination. And when we grow up, we forget to imagine. But the interesting thing is that this is also a big key to manifestation, is just imagining. It's a lot of just like playing pretend, man, and remembering how to imagine, because that's how you truly become the things that you want to become. And that's what separates successful people and confident people from the rest, is that we just know how to use our imagination more, and we know how to step into that authenticity again. And so again, when you're alone, you form assumptions, so you get bored easily, right? Like, oh, I'm bored, and you feel bored because you just have assumptions about your environment. You can easily see something as, maybe not easily because of your conditioning, but you can once again see something as interesting in your environment, right? You could go on a mysterious adventure. It doesn't even have to be real. You could be like, I'm gonna go find the whatever, the gold in the gold rush or whatever today. I'm gonna go out and do that. I'm gonna go find Pokemon. I mean, I'm sure that's a good example. I know a lot of you probably play Pokemon Go. That game is awesome. That literally shows that, you know, we can imagine and play pretend that we're out and we see Pokemon everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even need an app to do that. You can just rediscover your imagination and do it. And then let people judge you if they see you being weird and doing this sort of stuff. Like, literally, guys, live for yourself, you know? Like, go on adventures, do what you want, and live for yourself. Don't care about what other people think, because at the end of the day, you have to realize something. There's only two pathways you could possibly go. You can care about what someone thinks, or you can love yourself and you can have fun in life. I mean, that's really it. Like, there's no best of both worlds. Really, there's not. It's a myth. If someone says, oh, you can still care about what other people think and still love your life, no, you can't. It's just not possible. And the people that say that are settling. They're like, when they say love your life, they don't mean they love their life. They mean that your life is average, like your life is okay. You can't truly love a life when you're caring about what other people think. Why? Because you can't truly use your imagination, have fun, be goofy, be completely yourself. If you care about what other people think, it just doesn't even make sense. So anyways, this is getting a little off topic, even though this is all very good stuff. I mean, if you want to get rid of loneliness, you have to understand how to entertain yourself again and to play pretend and to see life as interesting. And how you do that is through your imagination. You imagine yourself going on quests. You imagine yourself doing these things. Even when I'm out and about, sometimes even if I'm not acting it out, I'm playing things in my head. I'm imagining fun things. You can imagine like dragons in the sky. It sounds funny, but like it literally makes life more interesting again. And it just practices getting that childlike energy. And then you bring this out in other ways by being your authentic self. Trash trucks here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But you bring these things out by just being your authentic self with other people too. And this helps with the loneliness, because then you don't need other people. And the ironic thing about this is when you truly surrender from the outcome and you don't care about being lonely anymore, you actually don't feel as lonely, because that's just how it works. You got to surrender from the outcome. Because first of all, if you're playing pretend and just being fun and interesting, other people are going to actually find you interesting. And no matter what they say, they're going to be jealous as hell if they see you just with this childlike energy and they see that you don't care about what other people think, and they just see that you're having more fun, because everybody wants to have more fun. Like, everybody wants to be carefree. Everyone wants to not care what other people think of them. So it's going to be contagious, and they're either going to be jealous of you or want to play along, want to come with you. So that's number one. Again, and then the other thing that I talked about earlier was ultimately you have to remove your trauma, you have to remove your baggage, because the only reason why you don't want to sit alone with yourself is because you're thinking about all this stuff, right? Like, am I doing the right things? Maybe you think you have low self-esteem. Maybe you think you suck, right? Maybe you're like, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so this, I'm so that, whatever it is that you're dealing with, right? And so that's the reason why you don't want to be lonely, because you're going to be stuck with your own thoughts. If you're alone and you don't have these problems, then it doesn't even matter. Like, you're just chilling, you're just surviving. And the problem with life is that people they just don't remember what life is. I really just think life is an experience. I've heard other people too say this, and the people who have said this seem to have pretty happy lives too. But I honestly just think life is an experience. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. As humans, as a society, we put meanings on things, and those meanings is what makes it serious. But ultimately, no matter what's happening, think about it. Like, if you're, like, for example, I'll give you an example, right? I'm sitting here by my pool and stuff. I could be creating a bunch of problems for myself right now, like going down rabbit holes of what I think is wrong in my life, in all kinds of facets, relationships, whatever it is, right? I could be going through all kinds of problems, and that's the other thing, we make up problems too, so remember that. But I could be going down all these rabbit holes, but the reality is what? I'm sitting in front of a pool. It's actually like a beautiful day out. The reality is that I'm sitting in front of a pool. I'm just sitting outside. None of these problems truly exist. And when you become in the when you get yourself in the present moment, you realize this. Because right now, these problems don't exist, right? Like if I'm thinking, let's say, of oh, this one relationship is not going so good in my life. Does that problem exist right now? What exists right now? The only thing that exists is the present moment. The only thing that exists is the fact that I'm breathing consciously and I'm sitting here. And I'm talking to you guys, of course, but I'm sitting here, I'm by my pool. That is the only thing that exists. I am not having a problem with any relationship in my life right now. I'm not talking to someone. They're not over my head yelling and screaming at me or anything, right? Like I'm literally just sitting by a pool. And so, again, that brings us back to the present moment. You have to get into the present moment. You get into the present moment by just focusing on what's in front of you and just the sounds and the sights of your environment, and that's it. It's like thoughts. Like, you know how you have thoughts in your head, obviously. Instead of having thoughts in your head, you want to have the sounds that you hear in your head. And then just literally be so present to the moment that you're not focused on your inner world or things. You're focused on the little details in your environment, right? Like I could be like behind me, I could be focused on the yellow lid to my trash can and the details, like the dirt that's disgusting and on it. Okay, you get my point. But like that's what you have to understand. You have to be present to the moment, and you just have to learn to pretend again. You have to learn to pretend, play pretend, and regain that childlike energy. Entertain yourself. Like that's what life is about, entertaining yourself. And what did I say? Yeah, the barriers, or the not the barriers, starts with a B, but you know, the blockages, like the trauma, really, the things that you don't want to address them. You know, like allow yourself to sit alone, allow them to come up, and then ask yourself why. Keep asking yourself why. Like ask, why do I feel this way? Why am I struggling with this? And then you'll find that you'll find the true answers to what you're thinking. And again, if you have trouble with that, definitely be sure to book a free session I have in my bio on this YouTube channel. My site where you can go to book a call, and even my email, you can just email me and I'll set it up for you. I'm definitely willing to do that as well, but you can even book it through the website as well. So definitely check that out as well, because I help people to do this. But yeah, just sit and ask why, whatever comes up, right? Why do I feel anxious? Because I'm afraid people will judge me. Why am I afraid people will judge me? Because I care what people think. Why do I care about what people think? You know what I mean? And just go down the ladder and see how far you can go, because then that'll lead you to the real answers. It'll get you some clarity as to why you feel, for example, lonely, as this video talks about. Okay, so to recap, if you feel lonely, you have to learn to play pretend like a child. Like go out, make adventures, make things up. It doesn't have to be real. Just do weird things, be goofy, allow yourself to do that again. And definitely be sure to check out my previous video too about how to be yourself and how to apply that to your regular life as well. But those are some big keys, man. I mean, just play pretend again like a child, and learn to sit with yourself and deal with your problems. And again, if you need help with that, that's what I do as a job. But just learn to sit with yourself and deal with those problems and figure out, okay, how can I truly figure this stuff out so that I can just sit here and be in the present moment. And just remember that your problems are completely created in your mind. Like they don't truly exist. They just exist in your mind, because the only thing that truly exists and that's really real is what's in front of you right now. It's you watching this video. For me, it's me recording this video and sitting by my pool. Okay? It's the only thing that's real. So I hope that helps. Be sure to subscribe, because I have all kinds of content like this that I put out that really can help you guys, to help you guys grow as people, and just to have a happier, more fulfilling life and more fulfilling relationships, okay? So like, subscribe, and peace.